Alright, everybody, we are back, and of course, our guest this week. You might not know too much about her, but I had some inquiries after speaking with Sean Maluta a couple of weeks ago. She goes by Dynamite DiDi, and generally when you hear the word booty around her, it's not the same way that the New Day talks about it. So DiDi, thank you, thanks for joining me tonight.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be on, and you're absolutely correct on that. It is not a funny thing.
No, I would say you're the Baroness of Booty Mania, but we'll get into that a little bit more a little later on. So, of course, we were talking a little bit before we started recording that, you know, we don't like to end the show on a negative note, but since this is an episode dedicated to, or in tribute to Jimmy Superfly Snuka, who we lost this week, it's kind of appropriate that, you know, because a lot of people, which we'll talk about, you know that you're dating Sean Maluta, who has a loose kind of family relationship or distant relationship to Superfly. So I just kind of wanted to see if you could share kind of a memory that you had of maybe watching the Superfly when you were younger.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm very close to Alpha, and that whole family is so close knit that something like that, it affects everybody, whether you're really blood related or related through a relationship or anything. It's a close hit to home. So it's been rough. I remember, watching clips of Jimmy, being like the innovator of high flying, really. I think nobody at the time was doing anything that he was doing. And so many people nowadays, especially the high flyers, are inspired by him. So it was kind of sad to see that happen, especially the way it happened. He had been dealing with, cancer for a while and all this other stuff going on. So, and, it's a sad thing, but at the same time, he's in a good place, as cliche as that sounds. But I definitely remember, all the clips, and because I was too young, to be where to watch it when he was in his prime. I wasn't even born yet, so all I got to see was clips and matches, old matches. So he wasn't really like one of my go-to guys, and he wasn't like a favorite person to watch, but he was definitely somebody that I respected and somebody that I look up to as far as being an innovator. So it was a big hit.
Well, thank you. I'm glad that you talked about it a little bit, and I definitely would agree. In my upcoming column this Monday, The Flying Elbow, I'm going to be paying tribute to the Superfly again with a top 5 Superfly moments, and I think he really was one of the more underrated performers of his era. He kind of sometimes got lost in the shuffle amongst all of his names, like the Roddy Piper and the Hulk Hogan, but like you said, nobody was doing the things that he was doing at the time. We look at it now, it's just a simple splash off the top rope, but for someone of his size to be doing that, and in that era, definitely an innovator who, whether through blood family or just people watching his clips, like you said, definitely will have a big impact on wrestling for many generations to come. So, he's definitely
left his mark. So
absolutely,
we're glad to see him go, but glad to see that he's going to be in a better place and not suffering anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely grateful for all the great memories that we had with the Superfly as well. So we're going to transition out of that now. Again, thank you for speaking about that. I know it's probably a tough time for the family.
Yeah.
But yeah, moving on to our main topic, which is you, my dear, this week. So, like I said, I got a lot of inquiries and questions about fans wanting to know more about you, just because we spoke about you a little bit when I spoke to Sean a couple of weeks back, or actually it probably was longer.
Yeah, I overheard.
Oh, so you were sitting in the room? Okay.
No, I listened to the podcast and I loved it, so
nice.
I thought it was great.
Well, I'm taking a bow right now, so thank you. So yeah, I had a lot of people kind of wanting to know more about you and your story and kind of see what the whole Dynamite DiDi package is all about. So I know that you're currently living in Florida. Did you always live in Florida? Kind of tell me a little bit about your upbringing.
Yeah, no, I mean, I've been here since I was 11, but I was born and raised in Venezuela, so that's in South America. And, yeah, I mean, I was born there, I was raised there, I grew up in the hood. I grew up very poor, and I was raised by a single mom and my sister. My father, he was in the States, so he came here when I was like 2 or something like that. I was very young. And so, I kind of lived half my life over there, and then I was brought here to live with my father. So I've been living in Florida ever since, and I had to kind of learn the language from scratch, and it was tough, but I was a smart cookie, so thankfully I learned it quick. And, yeah, I mean, it was definitely a culture shock, and school was rough the first few years, but that's kind of what made me who I am. Everything that I've been through in my life, from the tough childhood upbringing to, being poor, to growing up in the hood where, you get robbed at gunpoint at any point, literally, to coming to another country where it's better opportunities and it's safer, and living with my father instead now. So, I mean, I wouldn't trade it for the world, but at the same time, everything that I've been through in my life, which is, had it kind of rough, has shaped who I am, and part of that comes out in the ring. So the Dynamite thing, it's just because of my fiery, hot temper, and it's very real. It's very me.
We would call that the Latina heat.
Oh yeah, that's definitely that Latina heat. When I get upset, oh boy,
Yeah,
that's just like stereotypical, Spanish people. But
I came across, I think it was a picture either on your Facebook or Sean's, and the caption that he had wrote, it must have been on his, was when you get cussed out in another language to take a selfie.
Oh yeah, that was on his page. Yeah, I was just trying to take a picture, man. So he was giving me a hard time, so I had to yell at him in Spanish. So he listened. No, Sean is great. He's very patient. I'm a tough cookie. Got a hot temper, so he gets cussed out in Spanish quite a lot.
Oh, them Samoan boys, they're pretty rough around the edges themselves, so I think you guys...
Yeah, he's strong. He could take it. He knows how to handle me in a good way, so... But he's learned a few good cuss words in Spanish himself, so now he can use them. He actually loves to cuss in Spanish.
Yeah, I think if I had that at my disposal, I probably would do the same, but then again, where I live, nobody would have a clue what I was saying, so...
Which is even better, though. If you do that, you can totally cut somebody out, and they won't even know what you're saying.
This is true. It would come in handy. See, you're putting bad ideas in my mind now.
Sorry.
You might be a bad influence, DiDi.
I know. What can I say? If you ever just want to piss somebody off, if somebody's pissing you off, I'm sorry, just tell them, vete para la verga, and then they won't know what you're saying. You just send them to hell, and you got your fix, you got your anger out, and they don't even know, see?
See, I think it would be better for me, because I could only imagine the looks on people's faces, like, what is this white boy saying to me in Spanish? Because I know you said it was a culture shock for you, which I'm sure it was coming from Venezuela to America, but I can't even imagine that, because just for me, moving from Maine to Florida was a gigantic culture shock. So, I know you said that you kind of had a little bit of a tough time at school or whatever. Was it just typical school stuff, like you're the new kid kind of stuff, where you were just getting picked on, or?
Yeah, I was getting picked on. The middle school, I went to school in, South Miami. And South Miami is like its own world, if you will. And, I was picked on for the first year, just because I didn't know the language, and because, I was not from there. But I was good with schoolwork. I was always in honors, or, we got diplomas or little trophies here and there. So I did good. I was able to learn the language pretty quickly. In about a year and a half, I was able to master it. So things started getting easier. But that first year, like 6th grade. I came here during 6th grade, and that was rough. That was very rough, and I still remember. But everything got easier, and even when I got to high school, I got into different things. And funny, I remember one time one of the girls, she used to write on my jacket, like just write things in my jacket while I was sitting in front of her. And this was in middle school. When we got to high school, she wasn't bullied, but she was like just kind of the quiet kid. She didn't really have much friends. She wasn't even going to school. And I remember I told her one day when she was talking, she was like very friendly with me. She didn't remember it was me. And we were talking, I'm like, I don't know if you remember, but like 3-4 years back, he used to pick on me. And she's like, what do you mean? Like, yeah, he used to pick on me back in the day. You don't remember? And I told her the story, and she just looked at me, and she looked like she was about to cry. She's like, I'm so sorry. I was just a kid. I'm like, oh, no hard feelings, but it's funny how life works. So she was trying to be my friend at the time, and she had no idea I was the same girl that she used to bully.
And it's really impressive that you were able to pick up the language that quick, too, because, I mean, of course I was born into it, but from what everyone says, English is the hardest one to learn because we have so much slang. Like, I could make up a word tomorrow, and then it could become, popular.
A thing.
Yeah, like,
yeah.
I hear people say stuff all the time that I still am not even quite sure what it means. I guess I'm kind of showing my age a little bit, but... It was,
No.
There was one recently, it's like, on fleek. I still don't even quite know what that means, so that's how out of touch I am.
I mean, listen, don't feel bad. I'm 25. I guess I'm still pretty young. I am considered like part of this new generation, but I really don't consider myself part of it because I don't use words like on fleek and whatever the heck the kids are using nowadays. I grew up very, very old school, and I'm an old soul, so I love everything like from 2005 and down, down to the 40s. So music, movies, anything, like the lifestyles, I'm not really much of a fan of the new way of living.
All right.
I don't know why.
Yeah, I feel you on that. I agree with you a lot. I used to be like, like a big kind of hip-hop guy, but nowadays I just, I don't know.
Yeah.
I can I
just can't.
Yeah, I can rock with like some J. Cole or something like that, but I don't know, man. It's just not the same. I definitely hear you on that. It's funny. You just said that you're 25, and I'm sitting here thinking about it. Like, I turned 21 down in. I happened to be working on the road in Panama City Beach when I turned 21, and my birthday is at the end of March, so it was spring break. So that was a whole nother podcast there, but at that time, you would have only been 15 years old.
Oh my God, I was a little baby.
Yeah.
No, but still, I feel you on all that stuff. Like when I drive my car, I don't listen to anything sometimes. I have my CDs or like whatever I have on my phone, but I sometimes would rather be in silence than listen to the crap that's on the radio.
Yep, I've been strictly iPod for at least 10 years now because when they do play something I like on the radio, they bury it. They just...
Yeah, they just overdoing it like crap. Like, shut up already.
It's like, all right, this is a bad example because I'm not a Bieber fan, but it's like, okay, Justin Bieber, you're sorry, I get it. Like, I don't need to hear it anymore. I understand.
It's like the overplay. There's no such thing as hip-hop anymore. It doesn't exist. I still listen to old school Eminem. That's my favorite rapper, so I'll stick with that.
All right, yeah, okay. I can definitely rock with that. I'm with you on that one.
Oh, yeah.
So tell me a little bit about how you actually got into wrestling. Was that like always something that you watched when you were younger, or was it just kind of something that you fell across, getting into your later teens, early 20s?
No, actually, they used to play it in Venezuela, but you had to, I don't know, back then it was like DirecTV, you had to pay like money for those type of channels. So they definitely used to have it in my country. It was dubbed in Spanish, but I watched it as a kid and I liked it. But I think like a year or two before coming to this country, they stopped showing it overall in my country. Or I just couldn't find it. Whatever the case was, there was no more wrestling. So there was a period I was like 9 where I couldn't watch it anymore. There was nowhere to see it, to watch. And when I came here, I think like a few months into, I came here in 2002, late 2002. And it wasn't up until like early 2003 where I actually found it again. I was just flipping channels. And I was like, oh crap, I see like, there's like an angle going on with Booker T and Charmel and something. And I was like, oh my God, wrestling! I got so excited. So I was like, yes. So since then, I mean, I started watching it again. Now my dad, to this day, my father, you know, he's been much more supportive to like go to some of my shows that I have in Miami, and you know, he'll share my stuff. He's definitely gotten better the last couple of months. But my dad was like, he hated me watching wrestling. He did not like it. And he's like, go sing, go dance, go act. You know, you don't need to watch that crap. And so, you know, I had to sneak it most of the time, or, you know, change the channel as soon as I heard his car door. So I had a curfew. Obviously, I was a kid. So, you know, SmackDown would end at 10. You know, Raw, I think at the time, would end at 10, too. Wait, was it at 10? Or was it 11? I can't remember, but it was like my cutoff time was 9. So man, I would try to stretch that time as much as I could. I hated it. I couldn't finish watching SmackDown half the time. So, but it was good. I mean, I definitely got caught up with it here, and I became more of a fan as I grew older. Where when I turned 14, I decided I was like, okay, this is something that I want to do.
So, do you think your dad was kind of more like trying to get you to do like stereotypical like female stuff, like dancing or singing or whatever? And
yeah, absolutely. I mean, I grew up doing that stuff. I grew up in the arts. My mom is an actress. You know, she does acting in Venezuela to this day. You know, she's been in novelas and movies and TV shows. Name it, you can name it. My mom's been in it, commercials, and I did some TV work when I was down there as well as a kid.
Right.
So the arts is always
I also failed to mention that you haven't seen your mom in 14 years, so.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the situation in Venezuela is really tough. I don't know if you follow up with the politics or anything like that, but going back and forth, it's not easy, and she refuses to leave the country. So it's one of the situations where, you know, it is what it is. But I'm trying to convince her to go to Spain recently so I can go see her there, and that'll be easier, so. We'll see how that works, but yeah, I mean, I kind of grew up half my life without my mom. Grew up half my life without my dad, and then the other half without my mom.
Jeez, that is crazy.
No, it's all good. Like I said, I'm not one of those people that things happen to and they kind of crumble. I kind of rise from it and just, you know, learn or just become strong.
Well, now you've got kind of a newer family, which a lot of people will call being just part of the wrestling community a family, because it really is. It, you know, people that don't watch wrestling, I'll say to them, you know, it's not for everybody. You know, if you can't appreciate it for what it is, then it's just not for you. But when you come across people that, you know, are so into wrestling, it's almost like, I know I've made this joke on the show before, but it's almost like that movie Step Brothers. It's like, oh my God, I think we just became best friends. Because they're hard to find, so kind of give me your memories about, like, how your training came about, and, you know, was it, you know, really tough for you to pick up on the holds or anything like that, anything you struggled with?
Yeah. Well, it's actually perfect because it falls into, you know, the last thing you were saying, which is, you know, my dad wanted me to do stereotypical stuff. Because I've always been in the arts, I always did dancing, singing, acting, you know, sports, playing on the streets till late. You know, I did have a good childhood, so, you know, I've always been very active, very athletic. So that's why my dad kind of wanted me to follow with that. But as far as the training goes, I think I was 20 when I started training. And it's not that it was hard, it's just different. There's absolutely nothing like professional wrestling out there. Anybody says you can come from MMA, boxing, football, I mean, we see it all the time. It doesn't mean that it's the same kind of athleticism that that professional wrestling is. So it was okay. I mean, I could keep up with it, but it was hard to understand the mechanics of the moves. You know, like to do just a simple bump. Like, how hard is it to just fall? Yeah, just fall on your back without hitting your head. You know, and at first you're like, are you fucking kidding me right now? I don't know if I can do it, but it's like, are you fucking kidding me right now? You want me to fall back? Or what's gonna catch me though? This hard ass mat. So it's the mechanics of it. I mean, nowadays, you know, the mat is home, but it was rough to understand the mechanics. The athletic part came pretty easy, but the mechanics of it and getting in ring shape, yeah. But I loved it, so it was easy.
Yeah, a lot of people, you know, that don't really watch wrestling always have all these insane preconceived notions. But when it comes down to it, falling flat on your back is just not a natural thing. So I think a lot of people probably struggle with that. So you're probably not alone.
No, and I mean, you're getting hit. That shit hurts. You know, not just the mat, but the ropes, the turnbuckles. Like, I used to have bruises, like, on my back and other places where you hit the ropes, where it would be like purple, black bruises for weeks from just hitting the ropes. You know, and people don't realize that. You know, the turnbuckles, you know, taking bumps, doing moves, getting hit. And where I trained, don't get me wrong, I'll never regret anywhere that I've trained or who I've trained with because it's made me who I am. But I trained with all boys. I was the only girl. And for about 6 months, it was like that. And they used to beat the crap out of me. I mean, they used to throw me around like a rag doll, and they used to beat shit out of me. But it toughened me up. I like to think I was already tough, but it's a different kind of toughness when it comes to being in the ring, mental and physical.
Yep, I definitely, I know that you're not alone on that, because one of our former writers began training a few months back, and yeah, she's the only girl in her class too, so I think to be a female and to break into the business, I respect it more, because you're stepping in there with 200-pound guys, and like you said, they're tossing you around, you know, they're learning too, and they might potato you, and it doesn't matter what you have between your legs, basically.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, it was worse. When I started, I mean, I've been around for 5 years. I started training about 5 years ago now. And, yeah, it's not that long ago, but it's still long ago enough where all this women's wrestling that's going on right now was not going on
No.
at all. You know, the girls were getting 2-minute matches, 3-minute matches, if so, and sometimes no women's match on the card.
Yeah, let's be honest.
So,
it was a total shit show back then for the females. It honestly was.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think I started coming around like AJE was just like coming in or something, but it was before the women even got any kind of respect. So that showed in training. That definitely showed in training. You have a lot of guys. I train with a lot of good guys, and to this day, you know, I'll always be thankful for half of the class that train with me. But there were 1 or 2 bad apples in there that I would just do it on purpose. You know, like really badly. So it's what you have to deal with being a woman, and that's I don't think that's ever fully going to change, no matter how much we progress with women's wrestling.
Yeah, it's definitely going to remain an ongoing issue, at least in our lifetime, I think. There has been some good progression, but like you said, until you can get more women in key positions, you know, using big companies like WWE as a good example, then, like you said, it's probably not going to change. All we can do is just keep working towards it, though, so dedication will hopefully pay off someday for us. So primarily these days you work for WXW, which is of course the company run by Hall of Famer Afa of the Wild Samoans. So how did your association with WXW come about?
It was my old trainer. I was trained by Pablo Marquez to begin with, and then there's a guy called Soulman Alex G. He's like a legend of trainers in Florida. He kind of took me under his wing for a while, so he was the one that brought me up to WXW because he had been with with Alpha for like 5 years at the time. So it was that group that I was training with at the time that kind of brought me up there, and Alpha would be grateful because it just furthered me in my knowledge and my ring skill, and just more than that, getting to be considered family with somebody like that. Because Pops, once you're there, you're his family. He is just so open and so loving. Everything's about family and respect. That he just meets you the first day, and he just for the boys, and he calls him son. So, hey son, come over my house and have a drink. That's just the type of man that he is. For the women, he babies us as far as like, we can't pick this up or you can't pick that up, but he's very rough on me as far as me getting better. But that's kind of how I was brought up to WXW, and I mean the rest was really history.
So, of course, we, alluded to earlier that a lot of people, I guess, would primarily know you, which is actually how I found out about you, was through social media and through Sean Maluta. So, was that something that came about after you entered into WXW? And was there ever any kind of a feeling of, like, any kind of dissension from anybody because you two got together where, Sean is related to the owner of the company?
Well, I was already about a year in with the company. I was in a previous relationship, and so was he. So, we didn't really see each other like that. There was a lot of respect, and especially, knowing who he was. But, things happen and relationships break, and then, he started coming around, hanging out after the shows, and that's kind of how we got going. And it was wonderful, and he is who he is, and that's kind of like what made me start liking him. That's how we got going. As far as like people, nothing really started changing because we would all hang out with the same group of people, and we've all known each other for many years. So it wasn't really like that up until like maybe later when things started changing and I started helping out more. In the back, where, the typical, well, you're with this person, so now you're changing comes around. It is what it is. But, those are things that, it's just politics in the business, right? That's crap that we all have to deal with when we're in it. But other than just that silly pettiness stuff that kind of went away, I didn't really deal with people being, like, angry or, like, bitter, I was already close to the family as it was. I was already considered part of the family, thank God, to Pop. So nothing really changed. As far as like, oh, now you're family. Like, I was already family before that,
Yeah, I think you gotta kind of take people like that at face value, like you said, especially in the wrestling business. There's always politics. I mean, even I deal with politics, and I've never taken a bump in my life, so... sometimes that haterade is on sale, and people buy it in bulk. So that's all I got to say about that.
But I'll never regret anything, though. I'll never regret anything. There's people that I always love and respect, and we all get in our feelings sometimes. We all say and do stupid things, or have power trips, and we learn from it, and we hope people either forgive us or we forgive them and move forward. But, I mean, nothing like that happens now. Everybody respects our relationship, and nobody really has anything to say. If anything, everybody's so supportive that it's incredible. It's a good, positive feeling to have when you have your loved ones and friends and people that you don't even know. They are so supportive of your relationship, so I can't really ask for anything else right now. The only thing that I don't know, I don't know if it's a girl thing, or if it's like a worker's mind thing, that I don't want to be known, because he's getting all this exposure now, as just like, oh, Sean was his girlfriend. It's like, I want to, no. I want to make a name for myself, and it's going to be a Sean Maluta and DiDi thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, or it can be like, oh, who's that guy with DiDi over there?
Yeah, like even bookings, even taking bookings, like, his family has encouraged, like, hey, have Sean help you get a booking up here, up there. And I'm like, nope, Well, I'm not doing it like that. Sorry. Thank you very much. He knows, he still throws me a bone here, or he tries to. He doesn't see things like that. He's a very loving, open-minded person, so he doesn't see it. He just sees it as an opportunity, but I don't take them, and I don't want them. As much as crazy as that sounds, I want to do everything on my own as much as I can.
Oh, I think that's completely commendable, and I can totally vouch for Sean being a good dude, because he doesn't even know who I am, and he's nicer than hell to me, so... The first time he called me Oos, I was like, oh, that's cool. I think I'm marking out a little bit.
Yeah, and I'm telling you, man, that's how all of Samoan, the culture, their values, their morals, like, there is absolutely nothing like it, and that's why, I'm so glad to have somebody like him, because you don't find morals and values like that nowadays. You really don't. Yeah, it's hard.
I feel you on that one. I'm not going to go into detail, but I
definitely it's the truth. I mean, if we're going to go there, we're going to go there. It's absolutely the truth. And Samoan, if you're ever around any Samoan, you probably feel the same way. I don't know if you've had, like, any opportunity to interview any Samoans or anything like that, but most of the time, they're all like that.
So, speaking of marking out a little bit, so, of course, I heard a little bit about the Anuai family, get-togethers, which I'm sure I know you've definitely met at least a few of them, but aside from, or including the family members, is there anybody that, you've had the opportunity to meet in the business where you were kind of like, marking out at least a little bit on the inside? Because, like I said, it happens to me. The worst case for me was when I met Sting back in April. That was the only time where I was like, kind of like, oh, holy shit.
I feel you. It's kind of rough now. When you have a certain mentality, when you're in business, the point is to be professional. So when you're around certain people, they become your peers. Of course, you might not be at their level, of course, but they're still your peers. So it's kind of difficult to see them like that, like, oh my god. Sometimes I do that with Pop sometimes. I take a step back and I'm like, holy crap, like, I'm learning from a Hall of Famer. Like, I mark out for Pops all the time, if you want to put it that way. But as far as, like, meeting somebody or being in the locker room or seeing somebody that really hit, that's a good question. Let me see. I guess I met Roddy Piper, which is one of my all-time favorites. God bless his soul.
Yeah, that's definitely a good one.
That was like a few months into the business, though, and because he was such a freaking sweetheart, I was just looking, and I'm like, I know this is what I want to do. Because if I can give the same feeling that he gave me, as somebody that I looked up to somebody else, I mean, what more can you say?
That's the ultimate payoff.
Yeah, absolutely. Who else, I'd say? I think there was somebody else, and now I can't remember. I promise you there was. Maybe when you walk on certain people, I've had the opportunity to have a tryout or two with the WWE. So when you're backstage, it's cool because you kind of feel like you're there and they're your peers. But when you pass by somebody like Triple H, I mean, your whole body just clenches. You're like, bullshit. Right.
That's behavior.
Right? Yeah, it's more behavior, but you feel like, wow, like, it's more of all of that's where I want to be.
Yeah.
Or that's who I want to work for. So that's the best I can give you.
So I was going to ask, that kind of leads into my next question. We've seen Sean get multiple opportunities, which I still say he's got to get a deal here. Like, I don't know what they're waiting on, because his last couple of performances, especially I believe it was the match against Kendrick. I even messaged him. I was like, Sean, that was freaking awesome, dude. Like, they don't give you a deal now. I don't know where they're getting their weed.
I know.
But
I know.
So you said that kind of gave you a chance to, rub shoulders a little bit with people. So you've got to, kind of go with him backstage, because you guys live right in Florida. So when he's at NXT, it's only a couple-hour ride, right?
Yeah. I mean, for him, it's like about an hour ride or something like that. Yeah, it's not bad. I mean, the opportunities that I have been great. They are what they are. They're opportunities. You get looked at. You know, you're respectful, professional, and you just learn. You learn from each time. You listen to what they tell you. You try to pick as many brains as you can, talk to as many people as you can, and try to get your face recognized. I mean, it's really, people think it's so easy to get signed. You know, everybody thinks like, oh yeah, you go there, you're gonna get signed. No, it's not that simple. There's so many things that go into it.
Yeah, well, I had speculated earlier with Sean that I thought a good opportunity for you would be, which we learned this week is definitely going to be happening, probably sometime this summer, is that they're going to be having a women's tournament. So I guess it's kind of a dumb question, but you know what? What would your interest level be in something of that nature?
Oh, absolutely interested. Absolutely. I mean, that is the biggest door opener that you can have besides being signed. That's the way I look at it. If you're not signed by the WWE, the next step for exposure or a step closer to get signed is it's tournaments like that, situations like that, shows like that. So my interest is very, very high, and you know, I just gotta keep working hard and focus and keep doing my thing. Hopefully, you never know what could happen.
Well, you definitely have the right attitude for it, and you know, you're still kind of a baby in the business. So I mean, who knows?
Yeah.
You should have a lot of years left, I think, in the tank for you. So.
And I've kind of, it's been my fault that I'm not as out there as I should be at the point that I'm at right now. Because I kind of stayed in a bubble for like 2.5 years where I just, you know, I didn't get myself out there. And unfortunately, that's how this business is. You have to get out there. You have to work for different companies, work in different states, different countries to get your name out there. You can't work the same 2-3 people, you know, all the time. You're not, you know, that's only going to get you so far. So it was kind of my fault. It kind of got comfortable. So now, for the past 2-3 months, is where I've been like, okay, back to it. So, you know, WXW is always going to be my home. It's always going to be my number one. But I'm also, like, started branching out, and I'm doing definitely other things, so.
Well, we got a company up here that's really starting to make waves, so maybe we can get you something up here as well. Keep spreading those wings out across the U.S. of A. and get the name out there a little bit more.
Thank you, Eric. I appreciate it. Absolutely.
People deal with the cold.
Oh man, I don't know. Hopefully, then it's a summertime thing because I am a cold. What is that called? They call them cold-blooded. Cold-blooded.
Yeah,
I'm cold-blooded, like, so I hate the cold.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree with you on that one. Just a couple more small things. I noticed on almost all of your pictures of you in the ring, you're sporting quite a hefty brace on the left leg there. Are you working through an injury, or was there a previous knee injury that you had?
Well, I got injured about 2.5 years ago in the ring. I think almost 3. Oh my God, I can't remember. 2 or 3 years ago, I tore my ACL just doing an entrance. Like, it was the weirdest thing. It was a new ring, and there was no give. And usually my entrance, I jump off the ropes to the middle of the ring, and I did that, and I just heard a snap. And I'm like, ooh, okay. I went down. And I had the match. I finished it. And, yeah, I mean, I went to doctors, mind you. I went to, like, 2 different doctors. I got x-rays done. And both times they told me it was a knee sprain. So they gave me not casts, like boots, restraints, gave me medicine, and sent me on my merry way. And I was like that for about, I think, 1.5 years. And I would get back in the ring, and I would wrestle. I'd wear, like, a protective, like a regular knee brace that you buy, for $5, and get in there and do my thing. And I never got injured during a match. Every time I got re-injured, it was during training or during a seminar or something where it was like a lot of activity on my knee, and it would just tweak. I would do anything. I could do the craziest thing and it'll be fine, but I'll go around the ropes and there it goes, boop, back down. So they'll put me away for like 2 or 3 months. And I go back to the doctor, and it's the same thing. X-rays, knee sprain, do the same thing. I'm like, but how can this be? If this thing is sprained, it should be fine. There has to be something else that's wrong with it. So I finally, went to an ortho and got MRIs done, and it turns out that I had a torn ACL and a tear in my meniscus on the right side of the left leg. So I was like devastated. I was like, wow. This is about a year ago. And I was like, well, what are my options? But the doctor, my ortho, which was one of the best orthos in Florida I went to, he was like, well, dude, you've been wrestling and lifting weights and running and doing all this shit on it for 2 years, and you tweak it every now and then for certain situations. He says, you don't really need surgery right now. He said, so he recommended the knee brace instead. So because it doesn't really bother me at all, and it will tweak every couple of months, that's why I wear the knee brace. I have to wear it every time I'm in the ring, and that's about that. I still go to the gym without it. I do cardio, run, do all kinds of shit with my torn ACL. And, yeah, I mean, people are like, but I don't get it, because some people can't even walk normal with a torn ACL. I'm like, well, everybody's different, and I do have a lot of muscle around my legs, so, yeah, it's kind of one of those freak things.
Basically, the moral of the story is, don't fuck with DiDi.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, I think this is like the only injury that I've had in wrestling, and it just happened in like a freak thing. It wasn't like during as the match was going on or anything. And the other kind of injury that I had happened outside of wrestling. I broke my hand, and man, I wore a cast, and I still got in there and I wrestled with it. I didn't give a fuck. I mean, it's not the right thing to do. Nowadays, I'm smarter at taking care of my body and and everything else, but. That's really the only thing that I have wrong. I don't suffer from any back pain, neck pain, or anything like that, thank God. The only thing, though, is later on down the road, I would definitely have to have surgery because it, can affect me later on. So I don't know when I'm going to have that yet. Right now I'm just focused on going around, getting my name out there, doing my thing, and we'll see what happens, and, go from there. My knee doesn't bother me at all, so why am I going to do anything about it right now?
Yeah. Just keep swimming, Dory.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
all right, so before we wrap things up here, I wanted to kind of get the origins of the Booty Mania, which, if for anybody listening, if they've never actually seen DiDi, I guess the most respectful way that I could say this is she's all about that bass and no treble. So,
God.
give me a little bit on the creation of Booty Mania.
Oh my God, you're so funny. You're hilarious. Thank you for being respectful. I appreciate it.
Well, I don't want to get Savat kicked either. So.
Oh yeah. That boy's very overprotective, but it's okay. He likes you. You just make your job. No, I mean, it's pretty simple. Since I started training, I've always had curves, but not like now, as I got older. So, what am I going to say? When I started training, people would be like, oh, you should do this move where you ram your ass on people's face. And I'm like, I don't like that. Like, I don't want to be known for that. I don't want to be doing stink faces or bronco busters. Like, I'm so anti, man. I'm so anti that stuff, at least for myself. I don't care about anyone else but myself. I hated that. I'm like, no, like, that's so cheap to me. So, and people push for it, and I was like, no, for years I went on with it. It wasn't until, like, about a year and a half, really, where, I don't know what it was. I think I just did it. I think they had me doing bronco busters, and I'm like, I'm not doing this shit. I don't like bronco busters. So I switched, and I was like, can I just ram my ass to their face instead? And I'm like, oh, sure, why not? So I started doing this thing where, they sit in the corner, their face is like, in the middle turnbuckle, and I just run full speed and turn my ass right into the face, and I kind of just kept, like, ramming it, doing the thing, like whiplash, just kept going a few times. But I started not to like that either, because it looked kind of silly. So I was like, if I'm going to do this booty stuff, it's going to be devastating, and it's going to be a serious thing. It's not going to be a joke. So I train with Mercedes Martinez. I don't know if you've heard of her. I'm sure you have.
I have, yeah. I've heard of her.
Right. So I train with her, and she was really the one that fixed it, because I was doing it, and we're talking about it. I'm like, man, this look kind of silly. She was giving me a look like, yeah, it looks stupid. We're changing it. So she gave me this thing that's like 3 stages of booty. Like how Daniel Bryan used to do certain kicks in the corner. So I throw my butt to your gut. You fall down. Then here comes a big one to the face, and then another one to the face, and then that's it. So. Yeah, I mean, the people that are in the ring with me, they say that that's the hardest thing that I do. And if I'm going to do that, then that's what I want to hear.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to do something like that, you got to kind of make it look vicious, You don't want to be taken as a joke, like you said. I mean, if you're going for the comedy act thing, then that works for you. But, obviously that's not the route that you're going for, so...
Absolutely not, no. Not at all.
Probably one of the more funny descriptions we've had on the show before, though.
I know. It's like, there's no way to do it. But when you see it, there's a few videos online or a few matches, but when you see it, you understand. I mean, the girls, they're getting whiplashed. It's no joke.
Yeah, I've seen it. The best way I can describe it is almost... It's a kind of like the hip attack that the Usos do a little bit. That would be the best way I would describe it.
Just much worse.
Right.
No diss to the Usos, but it's much worse.
or better, because you have DiDi's butt coming at you and not...
There you go.
Depends.
Yeah.
Depends on how you look at it, I suppose.
Yeah, no, so I don't know, we were looking for a name, and I just came up with Booty Mania. I don't know what it was. It wasn't like a playoff of Hulk Hogan or anything like that, but I just liked the name, and I went with it, so there's the story.
All right, great stuff. Well, I think that's gonna wrap it up for us this time. Yeah, I can't even talk now. You got me all flustered with the booty stuff. Now I'm like,
sorry. I'm really sorry. I try not to.
It's like that cartoon dog. His eyes just pop out of his head and ooh.
Just be lucky you're not taking it. So just feel lucky. Just saying.
All right, so of course we'd like to let you promote any of your social media accounts, and if you got any upcoming appearances, go ahead and let the people know where they can check out Booty Mania in person.
Yeah, absolutely. So Instagram is Dynamite DiDi, straightforward. Twitter is Dynamite DiDi23, and Facebook I have a fan page, Dynamite DiDi. So everything. Yeah, you want to look me up on? I mean, those are the only 3 things I have. I don't have like Tumblr or whatever else the kids are using. Snapchat, I never use it. So those are 3 things you can find me on, and everything is Dynamite DiDi. So follow, stalk me, do your thing, whatever you need to do.
A free invitation to stalk, or there it is.
Free invitation to stalk, but be careful, because again, you might get some rock kicked.
This is true.
Be careful.
If people are smart, then they will only do their Facebook stalking on the weekends like I do, so...
Exactly. And upcoming appearances, I was going to have a show this weekend, but I got canceled. I might be showing my face in Cali next weekend for, there's like a Rise and Shimmer event. It's a big mic. If not, in February, I'll be back in WXW and in PPW in Miami.
All right,
so
folks.
That's what I have so far. Yeah.
There it is. Go check out DiDi, possibly in Cali coming up, and definitely in February in WXW and PPW. DiDi, once again, great conversation. This was a lot of fun. Thank you so much for talking tonight.
Oh, thank you.